I'm standing on the cracked concrete of my driveway at sunrise, staring at the smoldering remains of my grandfather's vintage Royal Enfield motorcycle, the one he rode across the Himalayas in '78 before Parkinson's stole his hands. The chrome tank is warped and blackened. The leather seat melted into the frame like candle wax. The tires are gone, just twisted rims sinking into ash. It still smells burnt rubber, gasoline, and something sour underneath, like betrayal. My neighbor's security cam caught them at 3:17 a.m., two figures in black hoodies pouring liquid from a red can, then sprinting toward the gated entrance in a white SUV with tinted windows. They torched it because I refused to tear down my rooftop solar panels, thought it would scare me into silence. Worst mistake they ever made. I didn't just rebuild. I froze their accounts, exposed their shell companies, got their president arrested for fraud, and dismantled the entire HOA from the inside out. Before we go further, comment below, what would you do if your HOA destroyed something irreplaceable? Call a lawyer, move away, or go full scorched earth? And where are you watching from? How many of you are trapped under a tyrannical HOA right now? My name is Arjun Malhotra. I'm 56, retired Indian Navy officer, 27 years on destroyers and coastal patrol boats, mostly in the Arabian Sea. 2 commendations, 1 near miss with a cyclone off Goa, and enough close calls to fill a memoir I'll never write. I retired at 54, used my pension and my father's inheritance to buy this modest bungalow in a quiet enclave outside Pune. White walls, terracotta roof, a courtyard shaded by a neem tree older than me. The Royal Enfield Bullet 350 was my grandfather's pride. He'd restored it himself after partition, riding it from Lahore to Delhi with nothing but a duffel bag and a photo of my grandmother. When he passed, it sat in his garage for 12 years untouched. I spent 3 winters bringing it back to life, rebuilding the carburetor by hand, sourcing vintage parts from scrap dealers in Chandigarh, polishing the headlight until it gleamed like a moonstone. It wasn't just a bike. It was memory made metal. I kept to myself after retirement, grew tomatoes and marigolds in the front yard, taught basic mechanics to neighborhood kids on Sundays. My daughter Mira lives in Mumbai, software engineer, sharp as a scalpel, visits every Diwali. We're close. No drama, no baggage. Life was quiet, peaceful. Exactly what I needed after decades of naval discipline and oceanic chaos. Then I met Priya Desai. Priya is 59, president of the Sahyadri Heights Homeowners Association for the past 9 years. Always dressed in crisp linen kurtas, gold bangles that never jingle, and a smile that never reaches her eyes. She drives a white Mercedes with a custom plate, SH Queen. Yeah, that kind of woman. Sahyadri Heights is a 280-unit community nestled in the foothills, surrounded by eucalyptus groves and silence. HOA dues $4,500 a month. My property predates the association's formation in 2010, so I'm technically grandfathered but still encouraged to follow aesthetic guidelines. Priya's interpretation of those guidelines shifts like monsoon winds, strict for some, invisible for others. Her inner circle is tight. Her brother Rohan as treasurer, a contractor named Vikram as vice president, and a rotating cast of yes men from the local Rotary Club. The HOA controls a 2.2 crore annual budget. That's not just for gardening and security, it's a war chest. Priya's specialty, selective enforcement. She fined Mrs. Igor $10,000 for hanging laundry on her balcony unsightly. But her own nephew's illegal rooftop bar, complete with neon signs and loudspeakers, temporary family gathering. She banned non-native plants, so my marigolds were suddenly invasive. She mandated uniform paint colors, beige, sand, or stone. My turquoise door, a visual disturbance. I ignored her until she targeted my solar panels. 6 months before the fire, I installed a 5 kW rooftop solar system, government-subsidized, eco-friendly, cut my electricity bill by 80%. Priya sent a notice, unauthorized structural modification, remove within 30 days or face $50,000 fine. I showed her the municipal permit, the clean energy certification, even a letter from the Maharashtra Energy Development Agency. She glanced at the papers during a board meeting, tapped her pen once and said, "The board will review." They never did. Instead, the harassment began. My water was accidentally shut off twice. Anonymous complaints to the fire department about illegal storage. I had a toolbox in my garage. At the holy party, I overheard her whispering to a real estate developer near the snack table, "Once that eyesore's gone, the plot's worth double, perfect for a luxury villa." She was talking about my home. That's when I knew Priya didn't want compliance, she wanted me gone. The night before the fire, I just returned from Mumbai after Mira's birthday. We'd eaten vada pav on Marine Drive, laughed about my old Navy stories. I was relaxed. That peace lasted until I stepped into my courtyard at dawn. The Enfield was a skeleton of soot and steel, spray-painted on the garage wall in dripping red. "Solar trader, leave." The paint was still wet. I called the local police. Officer Desmuck arrived an hour later, decent man but weary. He took photos, filed a report, then leaned in quietly. "No cameras in your lane, sir. Could be kids. Kids with a gate access code and a Mercedes SUV." He didn't answer, just said, "Get cameras and maybe document everything." That afternoon, the HOA blasted an email to all residents. Reminder, all external modifications must adhere to Sahyadri Heights Aesthetic Code. Non-compliant installations will incur escalating penalties. No name, didn't need one. I sat that night on my veranda, chai gone cold, staring at the charred frame of the bullet. I thought about my options: scrub the graffiti, sell the land, disappear. Then I remembered my grandfather's words spoken during the 71 war. When they try to burn your legacy, don't douse the flames, ignite their own house. I opened my laptop. First, I registered a domain, Sahyadriwatch in 200, built a simple site, clean layout, mission statement, transparency, accountability, fairness. Then I filed a right to information (RTI) request with the Pune Municipal Corporation, asking for all HOA financial disclosures, vendor contracts, meeting minutes. Under Maharashtra law, HOAs receiving municipal services must disclose finances. Most don't know that. Priya certainly hoped I wouldn't. 2 weeks later, the documents arrived. Buried in invoices, ₹6, 8 lakh paid over 18 months to Desai Green Solutions, a landscaping firm registered to Priya's maiden name. Same woman collecting a 25,000 monthly stipend as HOA president. Double dipping. Fraud. I posted it all. The invoices, the registration certificate. Screenshots of her Mercedes parked in the visitor zone, violating her own no luxury vehicles rule. Within 48 hours, the blog had 5,000 views. WhatsApp groups exploded. One resident sent me a voice note. "She fined me for a clay pot on my windowsill, but her fountain has peacocks made of gold leaf." Priya called an emergency board meeting, closed doors, but her brother Rohan looked pale when he left the clubhouse. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Then came the cease and desist letter from a high-end Mumbai law firm. Defamatory content, remove immediately or face 25 lakh lawsuit. I scanned it, posted it on the blog with a new title, "They're suing me for telling the truth." Then I replied on plain paper. "Dear sirs, truth is not defamation. Bring your evidence or your checkbook. Arjun Malhotra." The next week, Priya showed up at the community Diwali dinner. I wasn't there, but Mrs. Kapoor called me, breathless. She drank 3 glasses of wine and shouted, "Someone needs to teach that Navy man a lesson." Half the building heard her. She sent me the audio. I saved it in 3 cloud folders. I installed 4 4K cameras, rupee 8000, motion alerts straight to my phone. Priya drove past that evening, slowed to a crawl, stared at the cameras for 10 full seconds, then peeled away, tires screeching. I knew then she was planning something worse. 2 weeks later, the HOA sued me for 10 lakh in reputational damages and demanded the blog's shutdown. Same law firm, same arrogance. Mediation offer, take down the site, pay 1 lakh, sign an NDA. I walked into their glass-walled office, looked the slick-suited lawyer in the eye and said, "No. You can't win," he smirked. "We have resources." "I have time," I said, in truth. I couldn't afford a lawyer, so I became one of sorts. Spent nights in the district library studying the Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act, HOA bylaws, fiduciary duty clauses. That's when I found it. The bylaws required annual elections with secret ballots and 30-day notice. But for 3 years, Priya had collected proxy votes, blank forms homeowners signed, trusting her to vote on their behalf. Under Section 73 of the MCS Act, proxy voting in board elections is invalid unless the proxy specifies the candidate. Hers were blank. Her entire board was illegal. I drafted a recall petition, needed 56 signatures, 20% of owners. Door to door, I got 12 the first week. Fear was thick, people whispered, "She'll cut our water." Then Mrs. Kapoor rallied the women's group. "We're tired of her tyranny," she said. "Meet at my house, neutral ground." In 10 days, we had 71 signatures. I hand-delivered the petition to the HOA office. The secretary trembled as she took it. "She's going to lose her mind," she whispered. Priya called that night, voice shaking. "You think this changes anything?" "I think it ends everything," I said. The next morning, the HOA announced an emergency special assessment, rupee 15 lakh for urgent drainage repairs. I walked to the clubhouse. The drains were pristine. She was trying to drain the reserve fund before an audit. Desperate, which meant I was close. Then, at 3:17 a.m. on November 12th, I woke to the smell of gasoline and the roar of flames. I ran barefoot into the courtyard. The Enfield was an inferno, fire climbing the neem tree, heat so intense my skin blistered from 10 feet away. Neighbors shouted. Someone called the fire brigade. By the time they arrived, it was ash. The fire inspector confirmed arson, accelerant, point of origin, the bike's fuel tank. My security footage showed the hooded figures, the white SUV, no plates, but I recognized the bumper sticker. "My other car is a yacht," Priya's exact words on her Instagram 3 months prior. Insurance denied full claim. Inconclusive arson proof. Offered rupee 1-2 lakh for a bike worth rupee 5 lakh. Meanwhile, Priya posted on the HOA group, "Tragic accident. Reminder, store flammables safely." Accident. Donations poured in rupee 2-3 lakh in 72 hours. Then the HOA reported the fundraiser as fraudulent. Frozen. 3 donors received violation notices the next day. Mira drove down that night. "Come to Mumbai, Papa, these people are dangerous." I almost did. Then I found my grandfather's old service journal. On the first page, in faded ink, a calm sea never made a skilled sailor. I called my old Navy comrade Vikram Vicky Rao, now a forensic accountant in Delhi. We served together on INS Mysore. I'd pulled him from the sea during a drill gone wrong. Garrett saved my life, he'd told others. I owe him. I told him everything. He said, "Send me the files, consider it even." 6 days later, Vicky called. "Arjun, this isn't just fraud, it's a masterclass in greed." He found 3 shell companies, all registered to Priya's aliases. Rupee 18 lakh siphoned over 2 years, inflated contracts to her brother's construction firm, illegal board bonuses. Total theft 22 lakh. Courtroom solid, he said, "I'll testify." I filed complaints with the Registrar of Cooperative Societies, the Income Tax Department. HOAs are tax-exempt, fraud voids that, and the State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. Sent a certified letter to the HOA's bank citing fraudulent transactions. Within 72 hours, the bank froze all accounts. Priya couldn't pay the security guards, couldn't pay her lawyers. She showed up at my gate one morning, no makeup, hair loose, eyes hollow. "Please," she whispered, "I'll resign, just stop." I looked past her at the spot where the Enfield once stood. "You should have thought of that before you burned my grandfather's legacy." I closed the gate. We held a town hall on December 20th. 260 residents showed up, local press, live stream. I presented the evidence slide by slide, shell companies, fake invoices, her Mercedes purchase funded by HOA money. Her brother Rohan stood up mid-meeting. "I'll testify," she forced me. Priya sat in the back alone, no one near her. When I showed the arson footage, the room went silent. Then applause, raw, cathartic. They voted unanimously to dissolve the board, elected Mrs. Kapoor as interim president. 2 weeks later, the Economic Offenses Wing raided Priya's home, found cash, gold, and a ledger detailing every theft. Her son, caught on traffic cam near my house that night, confessed under questioning, said she'd handed him rupee 5000 and said, "Make it look like an accident." Priya was arrested in January, charged with embezzlement, fraud, tax evasion, and conspiracy to commit arson. At trial, she pleaded guilty to avoid maximum sentence, got 4 years, ordered to repay rupee 22 lakh plus 5 lakh to me for the bike. Her Mercedes was auctioned, her luxury flat in Korgyan Park seized. The HOA recovered every rupee. Used it to fix roads, build a community garden, and fund the Bullet Scholarship, rupee 50,000 yearly to a child pursuing renewable energy studies. I rebuilt my courtyard, planted marigolds again. Haven't bought a new bike yet, maybe next year. But every Sunday I still teach mechanics to kids. One asked why I do it for free. Because someone once gave me a legacy, I said, now it's my turn to pass it on. If you're fighting a corrupt HOA, document everything. Use RTI, find allies, they rely on your silence, break it. And if this story gave you hope, share it. Someone out there needs to know they're not alone. Because calm seas never made a skilled sailor. But fire forges legends.